walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. Put a smile upon your face as if there's nothing wrong. Think about a good time had a long time ago. Think about forgetting about your worries and your woes. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. La 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 la, oh, oh. Whether the weather be rain or snow, pretend you can make it real. The snowy pasture, green and grassy field. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. Put a smile upon your face as if there's nothing wrong. Think about a good time had a long time ago. Think about forgetting about your worries and your woes. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. Whether the weather be rain or snow, pretend you can make it real. Snowy pasture, green and grassy fields. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. Put a smile upon your face as if there's nothing wrong. Think about a good time had a long time ago. Think about forgetting about worries and your woes. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song. Walking in the sunshine, sing a little sunshine song.
Good morning, CSL. Thank you for being here today. I'm Bev Ballard. I'm one of your board members. And David Moss, thank you very much. Mr. David Moss, everybody. We have a new person on the drums back here. Bob Johansson is filling in today for us. I'm sorry? Yeah. Ted McClurg over here on the bass. And as always, Mr. Rex Miller, band member extraordinaire. Lisa Compton is our practitioner of the day. Her husband Rob is back there on the keyboard along with Deborah Whitman. Shane Kipper on the videographer camera, and Jackie Lukenbach and myself were your greeters this morning. Erica Moyer set up all of our hospitality. Thank you, Erica, for filling in. Margie Strong is going to do cleanup for us after the service. We sure appreciate that. Mindy Wood was our cosmic cleaner this week. And our E-Blast volunteer was Deborah Whitman. So, thank you all, volunteers. You are what keeps this church rolling. And I know it's probably very boring for some of you to sit through all this, but that's the only way that we can bring them recognition, is to say thank you. So, now we'll have
just for the tall girls. Good morning, everybody. It is my honor to introduce Sue Weaver, who will light the world religion candles from the Christ candle. In religion science, we perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. In lighting these candles, we honor the one family of humanity made up of 4,000 religions and spiritual traditions throughout the world. We light the first candle for Islam, which literally means submission. It is the practice of yielding, letting go of the ego, submitting to the word of Allah and the serenity to accept the divine. We light the second candle for Christianity, where letting go and letting God is grace and humility personified. It is a liberating and beautiful experience. We light the third candle to honor Hinduism, as it is written in the ancient Indian hymn of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a virtue. Forgiveness is sacrifice. Forgiveness is Brahma. Forgiveness is truth. Forgiveness is holiness, and by forgiveness, the universe is held together. We light the fourth candle for Buddhism, which teaches that letting go, or embodying the Buddhist non-attachment, alleviates suffering. In fact, it is the goal of Buddhism. The fifth and final candle honors New Thought, that emphasizes a steadfast determination to attain a purpose, a letting go of all that opposes it, a reliance on the law of good, and an unqualified trust in Spirit. So now we'll quiet our minds and we'll open our hearts for the message being sung by David Moss.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? And how many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? And how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head before he's allowed to see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take till he knows to many people have died. The answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Please join me in prayer. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes and take a big deep breath. And feel the presence of your being right where you are. Knowing that we are all here together by divine appointment. Knowing that there's a power and a presence of all that is surrounding this beautiful sanctuary. We are cocooned in spirit, held by spirit, infused with spirit. It's from this place of infusion, knowing that spirit runs through me and spirit runs through each and every one of us, knowing that there is a cord of connection with all of us. We are a divine emanation of the Most High. And it's from this place of connection and love I speak my word for this service, for this day, for the days that follow, knowing that we are an expression of peace, and we bring that peace with us. We allow that peace to shine from us. We say a special word for our Reverend Jackie, blessing her and knowing that she has done her work today, that she is a divine expression of God, and that there is a message from Spirit for us today. For this and so much more, I'm deeply grateful. I release my word into the law, knowing it's done, it's so. And together we say Om, Shanti, Ashe, Amen. And so it is. And now for David Moss.
Here we go. One time to ride this great big ball. Some folks don't get out and they do nothing at all. So much to see, so much to do. It's like every day is brand new. From the ocean blue to the mountain high, a new adventure awaits under a beautiful sky. So hop on board this train of life. Let go of your pain, let go of your strife. We got one life to live it, one day at a time, don't forget it. We got one love, won't you give it? We got one life, just live it. I traveled this earth far and wide, sailed halfway around the world through the friendly skies. From Egypt to the beaches of Tel Aviv, I've seen so much, man, you can't believe. I watched the sunset under an African sky. So much beauty, won't you realize? You can join me while there still is time. So much to do while we're still alive. 'Cause we got one life to live it. Don't forget it. We got one love, won't you give it? there's still so many places that I'd like to go, so much more that I'd love to see. I still got time to make it real. I believe in my dreams and they do come true. If I can think it up, there's nothing I can't do. Now it's time to go for broke. This ain't no rehearsal, this ain't no joke. We got one life living, one day at a time, don't forget it. We got one love, won't you give it? We got one life just living. Yeah, we got one life living, one day at a time, don't forget it. We got one love, won't you give it? We got one life just living. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Am I on? I want you to know that if Barbara Diamond were here, she would have been up dancing to that song. Am I right? Am I right? I know I am. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So this is my favorite meme. Be yourself. Everybody will adjust. I've had that meme on my computer for about, 8 years or so. It's just my favorite. I just love it. So good morning. Whew. When the Brooklyn Bridge opened in 1883, it was the longest suspension bridge at the time of its opening. It spanned over 1,500, almost 1,600 feet. It was almost twice as long as any other suspension bridge in the world at the time that it opened. And it took 13 years to build because there was so much arguments and fighting over different things about the bridge. People reasonably asked this question in 1883, is it safe? Is it stable? Will it collapse? They had never seen anything like it before. They were astonished by it. In fact, the fear was so overwhelming that the bridge wouldn't hold that P.T. Barnum, remember P.T. Barnum, the circus? P.T. Barnum was asked to parade a herd of elephants across the bridge on opening day to prove to everybody that the giant structure would hold up, to all of the anxious onlookers that were watching as people began to cross the bridge. But a lot of doubt still remained. 1 week after the opening day, crowds of New Yorkers showed what happens when uncertainty and groupthink come together. It started when a woman crossing the bridge took the exit, a wooden exit, to leave the bridge, and she tripped and she fell down a wooden staircase. One person who saw that began to scream in fear. Somebody else yelled that the bridge was collapsing, and all of a sudden, panic took over. The bridge crossers were absolutely insane. They rushed for the exit. They swarmed into a jumbled mass, and more than 1,000 pedestrians who were crossing the street, crossing the bridge, were engulfed in fear. In fear over nothing. Over nothing. It took less than 15 seconds for the entire mile-long span to engulf in human chaos. 15 seconds from one scream and another person who got afraid. 15 seconds. The New York Times at the Times wrote this, quote, "In a moment, the narrow stairway was choked with human beings piled one on top of the other who were being crushed to death. In a few minutes, 12 persons were killed, 7 injured so seriously that their lives were despaired of, and 28 others or more were less severely wounded." 15 seconds to let fear and uncertainty overwhelm you. Groupthink, race consciousness, mass media, Facebook. Do I need to go on? I think that controlling our behavior in uncertainty can be hard. But controlling our reactions to other people's fears, other people's ideas, can often be even harder, can often be even more difficult. Fear is the most contagious of any emotion, and it can instantly push people to react in ways that they never, ever, ever would have reacted before. Fear. When I was in Panama and I was involved in an airplane crash in Panama, I was on a private plane with 12 other people, and the plane began to go down into the water. Thank God it didn't go down over the Darien jungle. Uncertainty and fear took over for me in that moment. And yet an interesting happened for me, which I think will surprise most of you people in this room. I got very calm. Very calm. I turned to the person I was traveling with and I said, "Can you believe that we're in a explicative airplane crash?" He looked at me and said, "Yeah, I'm with you, aren't I?" Which made me get even calmer. Fear, when it takes over, we do things that we would never imagine that we would do before, ever. That's what happens to us when we get in fear. A few weeks ago, panic took over a lot of people when the Silicon Valley Bank imploded. Myself included, I'll admit it to you. Because I'm president of the community house and the vice president is sitting here with me, we instantly went into kind of a panic with almost $1 million in the bank, not knowing if everything was going to be covered. Instantly, panic took over. Fear took over. I said, we got to get to the bank. We got to get to the bank. We got to talk to these people. Blah, blah, blah. And so we did. But panic took over. I admit that I even got a little panicked about my own investments in the bank. The most interesting thing that I read about the Silicon Valley Bank's implosion is interesting. This is so interesting, and I want you to hear this. All of the financial experts are saying that it could not have, not all, but many are saying that it could not have happened to any other big bank, at least with the speed in which it collapsed, because, and this fascinated me, because virtually all of its account holders reside in the same social group. All of them reside in the same social group. They live in the same neighborhoods. They go to the same parties. They talk on the same WhatsApp groups. They work for the same companies, the same corporations. They invest in the same startups, etc. And that's not the case for, say, other banks like our bank, the church bank, ICCU. We certainly do not all live in the same neighborhoods and get involved in the same social situations and work for the same companies. But because of this bank and where it was located and who the investors were, this is what happened. So bank runs have been happening for centuries. SVB was unique because it had the social web of a tiny little town, but the diversification of a big bank. But when one person yelled fire, when one person yelled, "Oh my God, we got to get our money out," oh my God, over $50 billion rushed out the door. My daddy used to say, birds of a feather flock together. What one is afraid of, we are all afraid of. Fear, the greatest contagion on earth. I imagine that all of those people crossing the Brooklyn Bridge and the SVB customers reacted in ways that they never, ever would have imagined before coming face to face with pure panic. You know, it's really easy to watch these situations and to criticize. It's really easy to say, well, I never would have done that. Fear can look so irrational. Even people with deposits in that bank that were covered by the FDIC, and they knew that it was, and they knew that there was no problem, still rushed in to take their money out. Even people that were a mile away from the bridge when it was not collapsing were still rushing over each other in 1883 to get away. No, nothing there, no reason to be afraid, but they still rushed. They still panicked. They still panicked. I think it's easy to underestimate our level and our ability to panic when you watch other people panicking. I recognize that all of us do this. A few years ago, researchers ran a massive experiment on Facebook. By tweaking the users' news feeds, that means controlling what people were seeing, and yes, that is what Facebook does, in case you don't know. By tweaking what people saw, by controlling what people saw, they were trying to prove that they could influence the kind of posts that people would generate themselves. Here's what the scientists said. When positive expressions were reduced, when positive expressions on Facebook were taken down, people produced fewer positive posts and more negative posts. When more negative posts were reduced, the opposite pattern occurred. More positive expressions were posted and less negative. Again, from Jack Holland, my daddy, monkey see, monkey do. He would say it over and over. Monkey see, monkey do. We'd say, but Daddy, everybody's doing it. Monkey see, monkey do. When this happened, and there's a whole field of study about this, and I'm telling you, I am really, really fascinated by this study that I'm sharing with you guys today. It's called emotional contagion. Emotional contagion. Emotional contagion. People never say, oh, I acted this way because I was influenced by everybody else around me. When was the last time you said that? The reason that I made that crazy decision was because everybody else around me was influenced. And we never say that. We want to believe that we are making our own decisions, that we are using our own brains, that we are not making up assumptions, that if we are making up assumptions, we're making them up. And we don't want to believe that they're being influenced. We want to believe that we come up with our own decisions independently in our own heads. But guess what? Most people do not. Most people do not. Now, I guess that I'm standing in front of a group of religious scientists, new thought, ancient wisdom people. And I get that from Science of Mind 1 on, I teach you all affirmations, change your thinking, change your life. By the way, Rex Miller came up to me and said, I got something for church for you today. When my musical director has something for me, I listen. He said, I saw a sign on a Jiffy Lube. Was that what it was? Yeah, Jiffy Lube, and it said, change your oil, change your life. And we thank you, Rex. And that is the truth. We have been teaching forever and ever, change your thinking, change your mind. But we don't always make our own decisions in isolation, in a vacuum. In line with my new affirmation that I made a couple of years ago, to learn something new every day, every single day I challenge myself to watch Fox News, learn something new. That's not working so well. To read a book that that I've challenged myself to read. And so I am reading a book by Richard Brody, who wrote this book called Virus of the Mind, The New Science of Memes. This is a meme. How many of you walked in today and said, isn't that cute? You did, didn't you? You said, isn't that cute? And then you read it and you said, be yourself. The world will adjust. I like that. I like that. But for every one of those that you are seeing, you're seeing a lot that are not cute and that are not positive. Richard Brody says this. He says that as we get older, many of us find that our minds don't work as effectively. He's not talking to me, of course, or you. But according to him, it's not just age that causes that in our brains, but it's what he is calling a virus that infects and reduces our mind's ability to run efficiently. Like the virus that affects computers and our bodies. Haven't we just gone through one called COVID, right? These mental viruses get into our brains and start taking control until they become so infused in our minds that sometimes we're unable to think up for ourselves. Sometimes we're not sure where we got the idea. Sometimes I hear people repeating things that I want to go, what? And they believe it as if it were their idea. Probably got it from a meme. What is a meme? It's nothing more than a thought. It's nothing more than an expression. It's nothing more than a communication. And so what Richard Brody, and you probably know him as the man who helped found Microsoft, but he was, what's-his-face's assistant. But, what's-his-face? Sorry, Bill Gates. Whoever. What's your name, Bill Gates? He was his assistant. And so Brody, he has a lot to say. All I'm saying is it's just a new way of looking at what you and I call race consciousness, what you and I call race expression, meaning that all of the words, thought, deeds, activities, everything in the mind of humanity is pressing on us. It's pressing on us. And just like what we learn in religious science, that we have the ability to choose what we will take and not take, Richard Brody is saying to all of us, we must be aware of what he is calling a mind virus, simply meaning a very virulent, effective thought that we are allowing to get into our minds. He says this, According to him, it's not just our age. Like the viruses that affect computers and bodies, they get into our brain. He says that our thoughts are not always original ideas. Rather, we catch ideas like we catch the flu. And you know, I think that's true. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm reading this. Now, for those of you scientists in the room that are going to come to me later and say, now, Jackie, scientifically, blah, 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 that's okay. I'm not a scientist. I'm giving you the layman's translation of what I read, okay? Just so you know. Here it is. These thoughts, or memes as he calls them, are attitudes, beliefs, and ideas that are passed from mind to mind within our culture. And he believes that they literally infect and impact our thinking and our actions. And I absolutely know that that's the truth unless we're on guard. The word meme was first coined and used in 1976 by Richard Dawkins, you know, the evolutionary biologist. And the word comes from a Greek word which means something imitated. Something imitated. So memes are thoughts or ideas that we catch from others that are imitated, repeated, and become a part of our thinking or our actions. I like this one. Be yourself. The world will adjust. But then again, I'm old enough to like that. A teenager probably wouldn't. What do you mean, be myself? I don't want the world to adjust to me. I want to adjust to them. What will catch fire in my brain won't catch fire in your brain or somebody else's brain. There are many forms of memes. There's religious and fashion and technological and even proverbial, such as you can't keep a good man down, or the world is a dangerous place, or you're whole, perfect, complete, and beautiful. All of these ideas have been poured into our minds over and over again until we simply accept them as part of our thinking. My entire life, I have believed that you don't swim for 1 hour after you eat. Why? My entire life, I hear my grandmother, my Mima, saying, put a scarf on or you'll catch a cold. Like the scarf's protecting your throat catches the cold? Please. We believe them. It's a thought that goes from mind to mind to mind, and then it becomes accepted. You know, I say this so often to this group, and I say it to all of you. And thank you, those of you who are online with us this morning. So nice to have you. Check every belief that you have. Check it. Where did it come from? Is it because somebody that I admired and respected, looked up to, believed it, therefore it had to be right? Perhaps, perhaps not. Is it because I've just heard it so much in my life that over and over it has to be true? Because let me tell you something. Memes, ideas, thoughts can be very powerful. That's why chain letters are still around, believe it or not. A chain letter now on Facebook looks like, choose the number of states you have visited and put an X by them. It's why more than 900 People's Temple members drank cyanide in 1978 because they believed it was their duty to follow their leader, Jim Jones. Memes are why we accept such diminishing phrases in our life like, I'm not lovable. There's not enough to go around. I'll never be able to do that. But of course, memes can be positive. Look both ways before you cross the street. Every day's a good day to be alive, etc. But every single one of us, according to Richard Brody, has been affected by certain mind viruses, and some of them create the destructive patterns in our lives that are keeping us from where we want to be. I'm just giving you another way of looking at words and thoughts and ideas here today. Today, early mankind, of course, a key adaptive behavior that helped the human species survive was fight or flight. But today we don't face the same degree of physical threats that our prehistoric ancestors did, but still fear continues to run our lives. And we still continue to run. The moment we're in fear, many of us, I'm not saying all of us. Today we face mental dangers like failure, rejection, abandonment, embarrassment, being alone, not being worthy, afraid to love. And so we run. Someone reaches out to us, offers us something. We feel like we're not good enough, so we run because we are afraid. We're afraid to love fully. We're afraid to ask for help. We're afraid to be honest with our loved ones. We're afraid to be honest even with ourselves. We're afraid to sing our song. We're afraid to write our books or chase after our dreams. We're afraid to leave a place that isn't working for us anymore. We're afraid. And so we run from the decisions. We run. The threatening viruses that have infused our minds literally stop us from living the life that we deserve to live, that we were birthed to live, that we must live to fulfill God's promise through us. When I was doing some research about the SVB banking, because I really did want to understand it, I read something that Yale economist Robert Shiller said, and it really struck with me. He said, you have to realize that your thoughts are not really your own thoughts. This is a financial advisor. This is a financial person, an economist. He said, you have to realize your thoughts are not really your own thoughts. They percolate in from other places and from other people. Now, that might be true, I think, for most people. We're religious scientists. We don't want to believe it. But over and over and over, how do we deal with so much emotional contagion? How do we deal with so many viruses that we can pick up from simply talking to somebody innocently after church? We can accept, even reluctantly as religious scientists, that maybe not always our thoughts are our own. That maybe we really do catch thoughts. That we do get infected with them, both directly from other people and indirectly, just innocently. We don't seem to like the idea that we're not in control of our thoughts, and even further complicating the problems, you don't know instantly whether or not the virus is going to be harmful to you, the mind virus is going to be harmful to you, or is it going to be positive for you? You don't know immediately. Nobody ever joined a religious cult, I don't believe, with the idea of killing themselves drinking Kool-Aid. What about when Bill Gates caught the gambling virus and he quit college? Was that bad? Had he not quit college, maybe he would not have founded Microsoft. We don't know. The moment that you accept a thought into your mind, you don't necessarily know whether it's going to be positive or negative for you. So what do we do? What do we do? Maybe there is some merit to the idea that I read in this book over and over and over again, that your thoughts are not necessarily your own original idea, that we really can catch thoughts. Scientists believe we can get infected with them, both directly and indirectly. A mind virus is not spread by sneezing like the flu or having sex like AIDS or something like that. Mind viruses are communicated simply through communication. Through communication. And they're the price of the freedom that we all have, freedom of speech. This is what the scientists say. Mind viruses are the price of one of the freedoms most dear to us, freedom of speech. The more freedom there is to put forth any communication, the more welcoming the environment for mind viruses. Some mind viruses arise spontaneously, some are created intentionally, but all of them share one thing in common, and I'm quoting now. Once created, a virus, a thought, a belief gains a life independent of its creator and evolves quickly to infect as many people as possible. Now, you know this is true. Have you ever caught fire with something? An idea? Perhaps it was when you first came to religious science. We like to call the newbie religious scientists the proselytizers. So when you first got involved in something that really turned you on, you couldn't wait to go out and tell people about it, to infect them with your thought. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We just don't look at it this way, do we? Read a newspaper? Here's what the scientists say. Do you read a newspaper? Catch a mind virus. Listen to the radio? Catch a mind virus. Hang out with your friends and shoot the breeze about nothing in particular? That's a different kind of mind virus. Catch one mind virus after the other, one after the other. If your life isn't going the way you would like, you can bet your bottom dollar, scientists are saying, it's because of a mind virus. And we say it's because of a belief, it's because of a thought that's playing a larger part in your life. Having relationships problems, you might want to look at what you believe. You might want to look at who infected you with the ideas that relationships are hard. Because a lot of us walk around with that idea. Having trouble in your life or your career or your job, who told you you had to stay there? Who told you you had to put up with that? Who told you you weren't good enough to leave? This has to be stronger than ever before as social media is increasing the number of people that you interact with every day. For the first time in your life, in my life, I interact with thousands of people a day. Whereas in reality, before social media came about, maybe I reacted with 50. Today it's thousands. Thousands that you don't know, that you'll never meet, that you'll never see. That you, with whatever you're sharing, saying, believing, acting on, could be impacting them. And likewise, you also are being impacted. Just like COVID, according to the scientists, some people are going to catch a mind virus and some are not. Excuse me. They say that some people are more impressionable to mind viruses than others. But every one of us, and this is a direct quote, every one of us is a product of the experiences we've had, the people we've met, the people we've observed, the people we've read about, and the people around us at any given moment who are contributing to our thought patterns, good, bad, or indifferent. We are all walking around products of that. That alone may explain why there's so much craziness in our world right now. It helps me to understand some of these extremist groups that are out there. Birds of a feather, as my daddy used to say. One takeaway from this book, and it is a fascinating book for those of you who like this kind of scientific stuff. One takeaway here is that when you realize how susceptible you are to other people's emotions, like fear, like happiness, like joy, like uncertainty, when you realize how susceptible you are to other people's emotions, you become more thoughtful about what you allow in your life. You become more thoughtful about who you surround yourself with, who you follow on Twitter or Facebook, what you watch on TV. And speaking of that, I love to screw with Netflix. Sorry for the expression. I love to mess around with Netflix. Every once in a while, I will choose something on Netflix that I would never watch, no matter what. And then I turn the sound off and I go clean my kitchen. The next week, recommended for you. You still don't think you're susceptible? Sometimes I think, wow, they're recommending that. Maybe I should watch it. Maybe they know something about me I don't know. You become more thoughtful about where you work, who you hang around with, who you share your intimate life with. That's a big one. Who your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever friend is, even your non-intimate ones. What you read, what you let enter into your mind. Remember this, the higher the stakes are in your life, the more thoughtful, the more conscious, the more spiritual you need to be about what you are allowing to surround yourself with. And I don't mean this as a downer or as a negative, because I tell you, from some of my negative friends that you might say don't surround yourself with, I tell you, I learned the most. But I'm thoughtful about what I'll take in and what I won't. Scientists believe that emotions and thoughts will always be contagious. And so you have one of two choices. I know this sounds like a bummer, a downer, but it's really not. We're just talking about thoughts here. We have two choices. We can either give up hope of ever living a happy and fulfilling life, or, and you're all here for this reason, I know, or we can consciously choose which means, which thoughts, which ideas, which words, which beliefs that we want to embrace, that we want to spread, and that we want to use to infect the people around us and the world in a positive way. You see, we don't like that word infect because COVID has really burned us out on that. But the reality is we're doing it every minute. I do it every Sunday. I'm spreading a lot of memes here. You catching any of them? Really, are you? Are you? So how do we disinfect our minds from the negative thoughts, the negative beliefs, the negative viruses, memes that hold us from living the life we want to live? How do we reprogram ourselves to embrace the positive and not to allow the negative to come into our life? Well, there's 3 steps, you know, my famous 3 steps. First of all, we have to increase our level of awareness, our level of self-awareness. What am I talking about here? Self-awareness is one of the most difficult and powerful, liberating actions we can take in our lives, but it takes courage. It takes not believing about ourselves what we want to believe about ourselves. It takes not listening to what other people say to us because we shift through what other people say to us until we get to what we want to hear. 100 people back there can tell me how great a talk was, and one person can say negative, and I've shifted through right to there because that was what I was listening for. Because that is what we do. We have to embrace our self-awareness, and it's difficult. And so the first step to releasing negative beliefs, memes, ideas, and thoughts is to become aware of them. Is to become aware of them. Man, but we're so deep into it, sometimes we don't even realize that it's not ours. Sometimes we don't even know why we believe something. Simply noticing them, however, starts the process to healing. You can ask yourself simple questions like this. What situations caused me to become anxious? When that woman fell down the steps, maybe none of y'all would have screamed on the bridge. Maybe none of you would have screamed because you knew there were thousands of people behind you that you might cause a stampede. Maybe your reaction would have been to reach down and help her, not to scream, the bridge is falling, the bridge is falling. We can ask ourselves, what situations caused me to feel anxious? And we can begin to work on them. What goals and dreams or fears have prevented me from living the life I want to live? These are self-aware questions that we can ask ourselves. What situations make me feel the most nervous? Who do I not feel good around? Then why are you taking them to lunch? Taking time to become aware of our fears, of our stresses, of our concerns is powerfully liberating. And it can help us let go. We can get our minds to calm, and we can say to ourselves, fear is not a reality. Fear is false evidence appearing real, we used to say in Science of Mind 1. False evidence appearing real, fear. A good practitioner, Ken Cragen, used to say, fear is forgetting everything and running. That's not good. But here's what. Fear is not a reality. It's just a belief. So number 1, you want to reduce the number of negative memes that are in your life, beliefs, thoughts, ideas, those things that are holding you back, is to become self-aware, with courage, with clear-eyed strength. Say, what am I afraid of? What's holding me back? Who am I? The second step is an important practice that we can use to eliminate the viruses of our mind, and that is to determine our life purpose. Now, there are people in this room who are saying, Jackie, would you quit talking about that? I'm in my 90s. I do not want to change my life purpose. Why not? Why not? I mean, I'm absolutely serious. Why not? How many times already, those of you who are in your 50s, some of you younger people can say 40, whatever word you want to number you want to use here. But how many of your 50s or 60s have changed your mind about anything? How many times? 1? How many of you have only changed your mind once? How many times? 100. 1,000. You see what I'm saying? So why not? I don't care if you're 8 or 89. What about looking at your life's purpose? What about saying, you know, my mind is so filled with viruses that I don't spend a lot of time actually asking myself about where I want my life to go. Where do you want your life to go? I don't care how young or how old you are in this room or on that screen that you're watching us on. Where do you want your life to go? What do you want it to stand for? What do you want to accomplish in your life? Because I will tell you this, when we're focused on purpose, we're less likely to allow the negative to come into our lives. When we're focused on who and what we should be and what we are fulfilling in our life, we are less likely to bring in the negative means and more likely to attract the positive, the higher vision when we let go. We're more likely to attract all of the good words, beliefs, ideas, and people that support our vision, support our goals, support our desires, and literally lift us to a higher plane. But first, you got to ask yourself, where do I want my life to go? I know you're retired. You're saying, hey, I'm right where I want to be. I'm retired. Not necessarily. Retirement's just a part of it. When it's all said and done, what do you want to have done that mattered? Last night I went to hear the magnificent women and men's choruses in Boise, and the theme was why we sing, and I was so impressed with all of the people who spoke about why they sang. Why they sang. Yes, it was to feel good. Yes, of course it was to feel good. But I could not help but notice that every single one of them was feeding into my talk today when they were saying, I sing because it helps make other people happy. Or it connects with other people. Or it changes emotions of people. And I was like, that's a virus of the mind. That's what we do. And by the way, you were fabulous, Miss Cindy. You were fabulous, Miss Cindy, boys. Yes. I was actually able to pick your voice out last night. I've never been able to do that. In the second to the last song, you're wonderful. Psychiatrists such as Abraham Maslow and Viktor Frankl advises us that when we release our base survival needs, food, clothing, shelter, our base survival needs, which always are based on fear, and stop focusing on the immediate crisis in our lives, and look at our life as a continuum, here's what they say. Another set of inner drives comes to the forefront. That's what we refer to, they say, as self-actualization. Our higher purpose, our higher calling in lives. These drives are innately within us. We just spend so much of our attention on the immediate, the problem that's right in front of us, allowing the viruses to come in. What is your higher purpose? What are your gifts? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What energy do you want to radiate to the world? We've all been around people whose energy is so negative that they drain us. We've all looked at those Facebook and Twitter and Instagram posts and felt bad or good. And yet we still allow them on our feed. We still allow them to get into our consciousness, into our mind. The third thing, the first thing is to, with courage, look at your life. Become aware. The second thing is to find a higher purpose, a reason, a vision, a dream, if you will. And the third step that we can do to disinfect our brains is to learn how to quiet our minds. I'd say this almost every week. Your practitioners are here to teach you how to do this. If you want to quiet your mind, sometimes you think you just need to go to a practitioner because you've got a problem going on. I'm telling you, when I was starting out in this philosophy, I went to a practitioner because I couldn't meditate. And I knew that there was healing in meditation and silence. And so I would go to a practitioner and I would say, I'm going to pay you to sit with me. Changed my life. They're here to teach you how to do it. Quiet your mind. Sometimes it's hard to stop thinking. It's hard to stop worrying and planning and criticizing and discussing and excusing and victimizing. It's hard. Our minds are chattering all the time, constantly negative, constantly positive. It's chattering all the time. And these beams grow so large that there's no other room for peaceful or creative ideas. So one of the best things that we can do is to quiet our minds and to sit in the silence and to turn it off. Turn it off. Psalm 46:10 says it, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know in the quietness that I am within you, guiding you, supporting you, sustaining you, uplifting. You can trust that. But you've got to be in the silence. You've got to listen to that voice, that intuitive self that is always there, loving you. You have to take time every day just to sit, slow down, quiet your thoughts and your mind, and experience the power and the presence of God, however you know that power to be, by whatever name you know it to be. That's the real way to clear our mind of any virus. We open up ourselves to be inspired, to gain clarity, to allow creativity to come forth. We stop and we connect our mind with God, and all of the false beliefs fall away because of oneness, in the fullness and the wholeness of God in that moment. It's that sacred, holy moment that I'm asking you to experience, to try to experience. I know it's difficult. I know sometimes it's difficult to stop thinking, to stop the negative thoughts, but we read in the Christian Bible that we do have the power to change our minds and our lives. The Apostle Paul says, do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He was a cantankerous old fellow, a bit of a misogynist, but the reality is that's a pretty impressive quote. It's a pretty important quote. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, by the new things that you allow to come into your mind. And I'm not saying if you have beliefs that work for you that you got to replace them and get rid of them. No, I'm absolutely not saying that. But I am saying what he meant in that was don't conform to the negative ideas of the world. Don't conform to the negative beliefs and thoughts and the ideas and thoughts that don't work for your life, even if they're positive. Sometimes the most well-meaning person can try to be a cheerleader for us when we're in the midst of our pain. And sometimes I want to say, just let me sit with this for a minute before you become my cheerleader, so that I can renew my own mind through the quiet and the peace of God. Focus your mind on your true purpose. With courage, become self-aware. And quiet your mind and your life so that you and God can decide for you what is right for you, and not a Facebook algorithm or a Twitter scientific formula or a Netflix that says what it says. The title of this talk will make no sense to anybody if you have not stayed this long online. The title of this talk is from a centuries-old Chinese proverb called 3 men make a tiger. If one person tells you there's a tiger roaming around your neighborhood, you can assume they're lying. If 2 people tell you there's a tiger roaming around your neighborhood, you begin to wonder. If 3 people say it's true, you're convinced that there's a tiger in your neighborhood and you run for your life. You see a meme once? It's not for me. You see it twice with 25 likes? Maybe I need to look at that. The 3rd time you see it, you believe it's true. Bill Silsman, the former head of the FDIC, said this. He said, you never know what the American public is going to do. But one thing, this is the former head of the FDIC. He said, you never know what the American public's going to do, but one thing you can know for sure, he said, they will do it all at once. When one runs, we run. When one is afraid, we think maybe I should be afraid too. When one doesn't like someone or spreads malicious lies about people, we begin to think maybe I ought to contemplate that the Dalai Lama really is a pedophile. Ridiculous. One thing we know for sure, Americans will do it all at once. Herd mentality. But you're religious scientists, you're New Thought, Ancient Wisdom people. You don't fit that mold. You never have fit that mold, or you would not be sitting here or listening to this. You never will fit that mold. Herd mentality, it's up to you to run with those cows or to march independently. It's up to you to decide, I won't fall into herd mentality. I will not believe what the average human being on planet Earth believes unless I have questioned it, looked at it, probed it, and now I believe it. It's up to you to decide whether or not a tiger is running around in your neighborhood. It's up to you. But only make that decision after you have connected with the divine creator, after you have quieted your mind and listened to the inner voice of intuition and intelligence that God gave you when it created you. You can decide if that tiger is really on your front porch trying to pounce into your picture window or not, only after you have checked in and said, is this right for me? Because this is what I want to tell you, folks. There is no tiger in your neighborhood. I promise. I promise. Peace and blessings. Thank you. Come on up here, Rex Miller. As Rex is coming up, I just want to say a couple of very quick things. And before we pray in, I want to say, first of all, for those of you who helped out with the Easter service, our Science of Mind 1 class, and our practitioners that formed that beautiful tunnel. And Francine was telling me that she was watching it from her home in Washington State, correct? And that it was beautiful for her when she was watching it. So even though she was only one of 3 people that stayed on the entire time it was online, we're so delighted. I just wanted to say publicly to say thank you for everyone who helped make the Easter service so great. I especially want to thank Bev Ballard, who bought Easter lilies, and Beth, who put them together, and everybody who helped. If you were not here, there are Easter prayer forms out on the table as you're leaving. I want to encourage you, if you were not here and you're in this room, pick up one of these forms, put it in the prayer chest, fill it out, and put it in the prayer chest, because something wonderful is happening. 2 or 3, I think 3, is that what we decided, prayers every week are going to be pulled by our practitioners, and so your Easter prayers are going to be prayed over all week. All year is what I'm trying to say, all year. So between now and next Easter, your prayer that you make on this Easter prayer form will be prayed on multiple times during the year. And we want to hear from you. We'd love to hear when the miracle, so-called miracle, happens. We'd love to hear. Also on the table, for those of you who did not have a chance to come in, there are some affirmations that we printed off for you guys. This one says, I always have more than enough money. Thank you, God. I accept that for myself and for the church. So you can also pick up an affirmation for those of you who are in the room but were not with us last Sunday. And as you are getting ready now to take a moment, as we spoke about, to quiet your mind and let go of any of the negative memes, I just want to, right now, ask for this church to be in prayer for our beloved Sue Montague. Sue was taken to the hospital with an obstruction, and she has been moved to ICU this morning. We know the situation on the human level sounds grave, but we also know our Sue. We know her courage, her strength, her love. We trust the doctors, the nurses. We trust her precious body temple is being taken care of physically by the medical professions. And we know that this church and her friends are sending the positive memes and the positive vibes to her today. So take a breath with me and just hold Sue. For those of you who don't know her, it's okay. Just hold her in our prayers as we ask Lisa to pray us out.
And if it feels comfortable for you, put your hands on your heart. And feel that vibrant energy of love, of source, of peace, of vibrant strength. It's God, it's source energy, it's you. it's all of you. We send our love, our hopes and dreams. We send them out into the world, but most of all, we hold ourselves right where we are. And we give that peace and that love and that hope for ourselves and for those we love, for Sue, for my sister Pilar, for our daughter Grace, for our family, for those that we know, for our hopes and dreams. We know Spirit is the source, is the supply. We allow it, we embrace it, we know it. We know it for our community, we know it for this church, we know it for each other. For each other, we're all connected, we are all one in this. For this and so much more beyond words can say, I just release it now with the love and trust and faith and conviction, knowing that it is absolutely so. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I just also want to announce a little bit of wonderful good news. Phil Bowden and Michelle Bowden are grandparents of a new grandbaby girl. I can't think of her name right now, but some of y'all might know, which was born the day before Easter. How magnificent that is for them. And they are on vacation, and then they are coming back by way to see their new grandbaby. And we're so glad to have Bob Josephson with us today. Thank you. As you are preparing your gift, your offering, I want to remind you of a couple of things. First of all, prayer. You can receive prayer by going to the prayer room at the end of the west hallway. Here, Lisa Compton will be available to pray with you after church. If the door's closed, just stand there and wait. She'll open it, and you can come in and get a prayer. There are other practitioners that are so willing to pray with you as well. Please fill out a prayer request form for those of you who are in the room. That's in the pockets or out on the table. You can put it in the offering basket, or you can put it in the little chest that's on the table in the lobby as well. Or you can call 208-375-0791, 208-375-0791, and listen to a beautiful affirmative thought prayer by our head of our prayer department, Loretta. You can leave your prayer request there. Loretta will pick it up. Or, this is the age of 100 ways to do things. You can send your confidential prayer to prayers@cslboise.org. Prayers@cslboise.org. And your prayers will be picked up today, and our practitioners pray absolutely every single day on your prayers for 30 days or more. And it's not just about what's not going right in your life. If things are going well in your life, I think it's a good thing to ask the practitioners to pray for that too, man. Keep the goodness going, right, David?
That's right.
Good things going on in David's life, I know. So there's prayer. There's so many ways that you can receive prayer. And also, beginning this Thursday night, the 20th, we have a 4-week class book study on the 4 agreements. How many of you have read the 4 agreements? Wow, there's nothing better than a refresher on the 4 agreements. So show up at the church. We said 7 o'clock, didn't we? Or did we say 6:30? I don't remember. Maybe show up at 6:30, just because. I think it's 7. It's going to be an hour-and-a-half class. But we will give you we'll give you the handout of the first step. I'm telling you, people, the first agreement. I'm telling you, people, the 4 agreements changed my life. Katie and I are going to have a good time teaching it. With you, we're all going to teach each other about this. So please show up for the class. It's love offering, whatever you want to do, give, because we know that it will change your life. That's this Thursday night for the 4 agreements. Also, a somber reminder that Barbara Diamond's memorial service will be next Monday. Gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. My brain is saying one thing and my mouth is saying something else. I know nobody else in this room ever does that but me. Barbara Diamond's memorial service and celebration, because that's what it's going to be, is next Sunday at 1 o'clock. Now, I know it makes for a little bit of a long day for you, but I promise we're going to keep the service part of our church short. And then there's going to be a memorial service, and then an amazing party, dancing, and celebration of Barbara's life, because we know that's what Barbara wants. She's still with us in our hearts, in our life, still teaching us, still guiding us, still dancing with us, and we know that that's what she wants. So we'll be doing. It's amazing how many musicians in this town have come forward and said, but I've got to participate. I've got to do it for Barbara. I mean, right, Rex? I mean, Rex is having to fight them off, and it's very exciting. And we're not fighting them off. We're saying, come. Everybody come. Bring your gift. We're asking if you can to bring a side dish. There will be lasagna by the Olive Garden from her family. But please come on Monday to Sunday. I don't know what's going on with me. Sorry, folks. It's the mind virus. It's that Monday mind virus. Yeah. Sunday, 1 o'clock, the 23rd, after church. Come for the service and the celebration. We do need a little bit of help on Saturday at 2 o'clock setting up. If anybody just wants to drop in at 2 o'clock, to help us rearrange the sanctuary and help set up for the memorial service, we would be very appreciative of that. So this is our conscious giving time, the time when we give back to Spirit. And I will say, if you're visiting with us for the first time, please fill out this connection card so that we can get the e-blast to you. We have 3 people now working on the e-blast, and it's very exciting. So if you're visiting with us for the first time, we invite you to stay after church for some hospitality, some coffee, cookies, tea, get to know somebody, stay after, and become a part of this amazing community. If you are interested in membership, there are membership forms in the lobby as well for those of you who've been coming to the church for a while. So for those of you who give, there are so many ways to give in this church. The old-fashioned write checks and give cash, all the way to a text. You can also text money to us. I know that that's coming up on the feed right now. For those of you who are at home, there are so many ways to give. And by the way, I would just want to go back to prayer for a second and say this. Everything you need to know about the Center for Spiritual Living, not everything, but a lot of that you need to know about the Center for Spiritual Living and the ways to connect with different people in the Center for Spiritual Living can be found at cslboise.org. cslboise.org. On the website, there is a list of our practitioners and their phone numbers that will be there for you anytime, day or night, that you need prayer. There's ways that you can give money to the church. There's listing of classes, and there's all kind of things. So I try to cover it on Sunday, but I know that's the best way to get the information. So let's just take our gift, our offering in our hands right now. For those of you who do give through e-giving, you can just take the heart out and put it on your chest, or those of you who are at home, just join us right now and feel the overwhelming energy and mind virus of gratitude. It's a good one. Of gratitude. Of gratitude for your gift and for your offering, and gratitude for the ability to participate in the circulation of life, each of us individually. And so we say, thank you, Infinite Spirit. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, life itself, moving and having its being through me. How good and very good it is to stand in gratitude for all that we have right now and for all that we are receiving and opening ourselves up to receive. And even more, to stand in gratitude for our ability to give, to share, to express. And so we say, thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. As together we say, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Ladies and gentlemen, David Moss.
There's a reason for the sunshine and sky. There's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when that love light shines all around us. let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can hide, and then go stealing through the moonlit night with your lover. Let your love flow like a mountain stream. Let your love grow, smallest of dreams. Let your love grow. You know what I mean? It's a season. Let your love fly like a bird on the wing. Let your love find all living things, and let your love shine. You know what I mean? It's the reason. There's a reason for the warm, sweet nights. There's a reason for the candlelight through the seasons, when that love light shines all around us. And let that wonder take you deep in the space and lay you under love and embrace and thunder as it runs your face and hold back. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream. Let your love grow, smallest of dreams, and let your love grow. You know what I mean? It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on a wing. Let your love find all living things, and let your love shine. You know what I mean? That's the reason. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream. Let your love grow, smallest of things, and let your love show. You know what I mean? That's the reason. Let your love fly like a bird on the wing. Let your love find all living things, and let your love shine. You know what I mean? That's the reason. That's the reason. That's the reason. Love is the reason.
Please stand and receive the blessing, knowing that you are the light of God. So go forth and spread it around. Have a great day.
Thank